Challenge yourself to change lives with the Big Belt Buckle Challenge. They make a no-strings-attached charitable donation when participants complete one or all of the 6 athletic challenges. In doing so, they aim to build a worldwide community that transcends sport and encourages people to make a positive lifestyle change while helping those in need. For 2023, a difficult but doable set of challenges has been created by Jeff Privete himself. They have all been inspired by his personal experiences throughout 2022. The events can be done in any order, and with the exception of the Road Gravel Challenge, there is no time limit for completion of a given event. All you have to do is make it through. Completing all 6 will require an incredible amount of dedication, courage, and a willingness to embrace the journey, regardless of the outcome. Won't you join Jeff at thebigbeltbucklechallenge.org? This is the Big Belt Buckle Challenge. Hello and welcome to the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate podcast. Jim Riley here and Rod Kuntz. Rod, another week. Time flies by.
I can't believe it. It is, and I know the days are getting shorter. They're not. They're the same length, right? 24 hours. But when you've got less daylight in them, it kind of compresses what we can do.
Well, we got a time change coming up soon, too. I don't know what the date is on that, but time change. My wife was just reminding me of that this morning. You know, ranch duties get real tough when it's dark in the morning and dark at night.
Absolutely. Makes for a longer feeling day for sure.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to say I jinxed us all up here in Montana because I was telling my kids the other day, for some reason, I'm just excited about Christmas this year. And I don't know, maybe it's just, the dad thing and, what that means to our family and everything. And I said, all right, for the first time in my adult life, I'm willing to let the decorations come up for Christmas before Thanksgiving. My wife's like, no way. I said, yeah, no, seriously. Kids are all about it. Mom's not. But, Christmas you associate with snow, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Now, you live in the city, although it's a very small city, I'll give you that. But you probably can't see because I can see it from my house. The Swan Mountain Range has snow on it.
Yes. I heard it on the news this morning that there was snow in the mountains. That's great for hunting too, though.
Yeah. Track them down. Well, snow is on the mountains in Montana. It won't stick very long, but it has arrived and, seasons are changing. And that's a little bit what I want to talk about today.
Well, that sounds kind of fun. And I'm one of those, Jim, I plan ahead. And I took delivery 2 days ago of my new snowblower.
Ah, nice.
Got delivered. So there you have it. I'm in the game. I've always shoveled my own snow.
Ah, well, it's okay to use a snowblower. This year,
I'm going to a snowblower.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, the topic for today is don't forget to reset. And what I want to cover or talk about is what does a reset look like? And oftentimes reset could just be a day of rest. I think too often we're out there grinding every day and we forget to take a day of rest. I was sitting on the couch this morning. I got the best picture. We're homeschooling and the wife is in the middle of the couch. Both kids are next to her. They're all cuddled up in blankets, but they're reading together. And, they're conversing. They're reading a couple of short stories as part of their curriculum for the day. And first of all, I had to take a picture. I'm like, wow. This is what homeschooling is all about. This is what educating your kids is all about, in a loving manner, on each other's terms, cuddled up on the couch, and my daughter says to my wife, Mommy, when's the last time you took a nap? And she's like, oh, I guess it's been a while, maybe a month ago or something like that. And I just started thinking about, how fast this world is going on a daily basis. You look at Instagram, social media, you hear in the news, you read the paper, everything, go, 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 go. And we cannot be at our best 24/7. As we just talked about, wow, another week has flown by. I think it's so important that we take time to rest, to reset, recharge our batteries, There's a reason why it's biblical, by the way. God says on the seventh day he rested. We should all be doing the same. But it's an important factor in our lives. And I wanted to give everybody a reminder. It's okay to rest. It's okay to take a day off and recharge your mind.
It's not just okay. It's necessary. It's necessary. And we've almost been made to feel guilty, especially entrepreneurs, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think we put more on ourselves, and people who own their own businesses are always driven to make sure everything is done, and that, if they're not there, they can't count on it getting done. So the reminder there is to hire the right people and to trust that you've done the job, that you've laid it out properly, that you've trained properly, that you've got the people there, and then be able to walk away. I've seen that more, especially with small mom and pops and even larger mom and pops, where they feel like they have to be in there and micromanage everything. And there's no rest. And I have to say, Jim, it's so funny you brought this topic up today, right? The rest. Because last night, it was early morning, probably about 5 o'clock this morning, I'm awake. And what I have written down on my paper right here, right, is engagement versus distraction. And you have to engage in rest. It has to be something you purposefully do. And you can't rest if you're doing electronic video games.
Yeah.
Right? That's not rest. You can take a break from work, but if you're doing an electronic game, you're not engaged. You're distracted. Your mind is distracted from other stuff. Electronics, television, social media scrolling is not rest. It's distraction, and there's a complete difference. And I put under engagement people. If you're talking to other people, if you're engaging with people, that's true engagement. And environment. If you're in your shop, woodworking, building, creating, the creative flow, drawing, painting, or just nature, whether that's gardening or landscaping or just going for a walk or sitting by the river, or when was the last time you laid down and looked at shapes in the clouds?
Mm-hmm.
What, when you were a kid, maybe? But that's engagement, and that's where you can get rest and rejuvenation and inspiration. You might get your best idea by checking out instead of being checked in all the time. And too many people are missing this today, especially with the reliance on electronics.
One of my favorite things about running, I used to spend a lot of time running for training for my Spartan races, was just allowing my mind to wander on those long runs. I mean, some days I ran for 3-4 hours, depending on what the race was I was training for. And, in the beginning, your mind's all over the place, but eventually as time goes on and you allow it to relax, you really can get into a creative zone and all different places that your mind will take you if you allow it. Like you said, it allows those creative juices to flow. I was just thinking about, you're talking about electronics, and I'm probably as bad as anybody else on this. If I spend as much time reading a book as I do on electronics, I could only imagine how much smarter I would be, further along I would be, and all these things, all these benefits of reading some of the materials I have behind me here, instead of just being on the phone engaged in social media or whatever. Tools are right in front of us.
Right. And it's so easy. You don't even have to pick up. I'm looking at your bookshelf behind you, my bookshelf behind me, and I don't do this often enough either, Jim, but I could pick up some of my favorite books, right? And I don't have to reread the whole thing. I could literally pick that book up and flip through and see, because I'm a note taker. I write in books. That's why I like books. I write in them. I dog ear pages, right? A book is a physical, I love them. I attack them, right? But I put my own thoughts in there if it's triggered it. And I've got little notations that I've used since my college days. This is important, or this is the priority with this thing. And you can just pick it up and flip through it. And when you see some of your notes, read that section, read that paragraph, look at the chapter heading and skim a book you've already read just to get that reminder. And that's a way of, again, re-engaging, keeping your brain charged up and engaged. And I just saw a thing, speaking, watching terrible, stupid stuff. I read a story just today where young chimpanzees have scored better than adult human beings on memory tests.
Awesome.
Now, have we degraded ourselves so much that we are, as adults, our brains cannot function the way a learning animal can? And that's a sad thing to think about. And that's recent. That's just today. So yeah, we need to keep our brains active and engaged, and rest is such an important part of that, checking out.
So I think, and I'm not going to summarize the call here, but I think to summarize a few of our thoughts as tools for people to carry on. I'm going to add a third thing to it, by the way. So I received an email from Robert Greene the other day. If you saw the event that happened for Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, Chapman College last month, Robert Greene was one of our keynote speakers. And so anyways, he sent me an email, and I had written him a handwritten note. And we have note cards for Young Entrepreneur Syndicate for that purpose alone, because I think all three of us believe in the importance of that. But he says, thank you for your letter. It's so rare these days to receive actual mail, and I think that goes along with thematically what we're talking about. And that is, here's a few things to remember. Take a day of rest. Allow your mind to rest. Allow your body to rest. 2, engage in written literature, in books, something tangible that you pick up, you read with your eyes, you turn the pages, the act of actually reading a book. And I know a lot of people read their Kindles and things like that, but I, like you, Rod, I like books. Dog ear pages, underline things. Matter of fact, you're like, hey, do I need to give you this book back? You dog eared a page. It was something I wanted to go back to, right? Out of habit, I did that, even though I knew I was passing it on to you. But get an actual book. I think you'll be impressed by how much you'll actually enjoy it. And I think the third thing here is, don't be afraid to handwrite notes, whether that's to yourself or to other people. I always talk about having a yellow pad where I handwrite all my to-do lists, because I think there's something, more substantial when I'm writing it myself, as opposed to tapping it out on my computer or just putting it into my calendar. So those are 3 quick, easy things that you could add to your routine, if you're not doing them already, that will make a difference in your life, and as well as help you be more successful in the days that you are actively working and doing things.
I think that's a great idea. The other thing is, and especially if you've got children, whether they're grandchildren or your own children, and even teenagers, something my wife started doing when she was homeschooling, actually, was she got puzzles. She was real big on puzzles, just because you had to look and focus. And you would be amazed, even now with our grandchildren, during the holidays, when they come over, they've got time off from school and they've got down days, and we get them over here. My wife will pull out a 550-piece puzzle, and she'll go buy new ones all the time. So they're always different, but she gets puzzles with themes that she knows the kids will like.
Mm-hmm.
And even the teenagers now, you'd think a teenager wouldn't do a puzzle. They dive in, and the conversations that are had while you're just making a puzzle together, right? And how good they feel when they get a whole section. Oh, I found another one. It's like a win, right? Those things are so important. And we can find those things to do instead of electronics. We can come up with some and I don't even want to call them substitutes. They were the old school ways. If we can go back sometimes, maybe we can find some value in hands-on learning. And I guess I was thinking about you this morning too, Jim. I'm going to take a quick rabbit trail here. We've got a few minutes.
Yeah.
My rabbit trail is this. I grew up in a day where when you did a tune-up on a car, well, I worked in a small shop and we did tune-ups, right? You did points
Yep.
and condensers, and you adjusted the timing, and you adjusted carburetors, and you changed water pumps and fuel pumps, and I've dropped transmissions, all shocks, and I've repaired flat tires, all those things that are hands-on. Today, when people get in a car, people don't know how to change a spare tire anymore.
Insane.
Or many cars, most electric cars don't even have spare tires. I don't know if you knew that. Most electric cars don't even have a spare. They don't have room for it. Number one, it's extra weight, and there's no room because of the battery packs. Even the hybrid cars don't have spares. And there is something that we've lost by not engaging with the things we use. It becomes a mindless thing. That's probably why accident rates are up too. People aren't as engaged with their equipment.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but there's value in being at one. And let's take it even a step further. You know your horse.
Absolutely.
Right? You have to take care of your horse, and you form a bond. You know how it's going to respond under different conditions. And you used to know that about your cars also. You knew how far you could push it. My motorcycles, how far you could push it, on the red line before you had to ease back off. And I've blown a couple of engines on motorcycles because I, pushed it a little bit too far. But you get a feel for that. And we've lost that as a society, but we can get it back by connecting.
Your point is so well taken. By the way, I've so in tune to my horses now. I love my friends, and I would love more people to ride horses, but I don't want anybody riding my horses now. The reason why is that they're tuned up. We've spent a lot of time with them, riding them, and they're used to how we ride them and our body reactions and how we take care of them. Somebody else riding my horses could mess that up. I never understood that before. My horses aren't, go to the trail riding place and pay $50 and get an hour ride. They're not those horses.
Right.
And I'm almost selfish with my horses now. Like, I don't want anybody riding them because I don't want them to hurt them, confuse them, or mess their brains up from what we spend so much time working on them for. So funny you brought that up. I got two quick tire changing stories. And this reinforces your point. And as a society, we've gotten so far away from knowing our equipment. And I think you're right. We don't engage in our automobiles anymore. So when something goes wrong with it, all of a sudden we're just thrown off in left field. Oddly enough, this was probably 7 years ago. We had this C-Class Mercedes, and a good little, get around, grocery get or whatever you want to call it. Anyways, I was working for a client out of town. So I was staying in a hotel on my way to his office, and I got a flat tire. So I pull over and I call him and said, "Hey, I got a flat. I'm going to change it, and I'll be there shortly thereafter." I've changed a lot of tires, especially in my racing years. Like literally, I was ready to get out, change that tire in less than 5 minutes, get back on the road. I open the trunk, no tire. There's no spare tire. And this isn't even an electric car. So I call Mercedes, like, why is there? They're like, "Oh, we don't put those in the cars anymore. You got to call Mercedes service." I'm like, "You're out of your mind." What could have taken me 5 minutes, Rod, what could have taken me 5 minutes took 5 hours. I had to sit there and wait.
Yes.
And this was up in Monterey, California. I had to sit there and wait for an hour for a tow truck to come to pick us up, to tow us to the nearest dealer, which was not near, and then to sit there and wait for them. And they thought, "Well, we think we can get it to it today." I'm like, "What do you think? This is a flat tire, dude. We think we can get to it today." I'm like, "No, I got a client to get to it." "Well, we can give you a loaner. We can give you a ride." I'm like, "This is insane." 5 hours. 5 hours. So that was my last flat tire story. But my wife here in Montana, this was maybe a month ago. She was with a group of women. I'm not going to single out which women they were, but they were a group, and they were coming out of one of their meetings. And one of the ladies had a flat tire. And so nobody wanted to leave without the tire being addressed. So there was 5 women standing out there. And my wife, she lettered in automotive, by the way. If you didn't know that.
I
She says,
love it.
well, let's get the spare out. Let's change it. And then another lady says, yeah, where's your spare at? Well, 3 other women go, you can't do that. You have to call a tow truck. And they're like, no, you don't. You got a spare in here. This is an older car, by the way. They whip out the spare. They start jacking it up. My wife and this other lady, and like, what if something goes wrong? How do you know what you're doing? What they started going through all these doomsday scenarios. Literally, Rod, they changed the tire, but the lady waited for the tow truck to get there to confirm that it had been done right.
No.
Like literally, like, this is unsafe. We can't drive this car. It's unsafe. I mean, look, dude. And if you're listening, if you don't know how to change a tire and you're listening, I highly recommend you this weekend, you take a tire off your car and put it back on just so you can learn. And if you don't know how, have somebody teach you. It's a life skill. It could literally save your life on the side of the road instead of waiting for a tow truck. But we've gotten so far away from knowing and understanding the equipment that we rely on every single day. That goes for work too, by the way. Our computers, our technology, our pens, papers, whatever it is. We've dumbed ourselves down to where we think that we need to wait for the tow truck driver to confirm that those lug nuts are tight.
Jim, maybe we need to do a YouTube video demonstrating how to change a flat tire on a sedan, on a SUV, and on a truck. We could do 3 separate videos. People could pull it up on their phone. I taught all my children. Yeah, some of them took driver's ed because we got a discounted insurance rate if they did. But I started them driving when they were 10 years old. They would sit on my lap even just to start steering and get a feel for the car. And then when they could reach the pedals, they were on pillows and they started driving early because I wanted them to be familiar and confident. And changing a tire was part of that training. I don't know if they teach that in driver's ed. They should.
They should.
Absolutely.
Well, we used to have automotive in school. All right, I want to shift gears here because I want to keep bringing business value, and it's only a shift in the discussion based on the same points we're talking about. So, just as a reminder, don't forget to get your day of rest. Rest is important. You can get 7-8 hours of sleep a night, important, but don't forget to reset, recharge. Point number 1. Point number 2. Read when you can, actual books. Pick up a book and read the actual book. And 3, don't be afraid to get out the good old pen and paper and hand write yourself notes, write notes to other people. The act of actually writing something down physically instead of typing it will stick and resonate a lot more than anything else. Okay, so there's the first half of learning for this. Rod, what I want to do is continue down your rabbit hole a little bit about understanding your equipment. And this goes to leadership. If you're an entrepreneur, you own a business, or you're an entrepreneur and you're in a position of leadership, it pays to know your equipment or how things are done from the bottom up. I love this. This is great. Again, back in my In-N-Out days, we would have some highly skilled and experienced people come in for an application. And usually it's like, hey, I want to work for In-N-Out, but I want to start in management. Well, nobody starts in management. Well, I've been running this restaurant for the last 20 years. I know how to run. Well, nobody at In-N-Out starts in management. Well, what do you mean? Well, where do they start at? They start in the dining room, picking up trash and cleaning tables. Well, I got more experience than that. Well, sorry, dude. Everybody starts at the bottom and works their way through the program. You don't even get to touch the spatula and the grill until you've been here probably six months to a year. What do you mean? I've been cooking for 20 years. Yeah, well, we have a specific way that we do things, and we start from the bottom. There's no fast tracking. Now, you may work through the steps quicker because of your experience, and that'll show, but nobody starts at the top. And what I love about that, Rod, it goes to what you were saying, knowing your equipment, learning how to change a tire or how a car works, is if you understand how the business works from the bottom up, you will be a better leader. You will be a better entrepreneur. You will be a more successful partner for people. if you know how things work from the bottom up. I'm consulting for this ranch next door, and a lady that I know from the community, she's ran into me there a couple of times. She's like, "Oh, Jim, the other day you were running a tractor in the arena, and today you're building fences, and now you're hauling my bags of feed out. Like, what are you doing for these people exactly? I thought you said you were consulting." I said, "I am consulting on building revenue and marketing and, appearance. Yeah, but you're loading my car up." I said, "Look, Pat, there's no way that I can understand this business to bring value unless I'm doing it all. Even if that means yesterday I spent 6.5 hours building fences, hard work, digging, pounding, stretching, no climb fence, the whole bit. But there's no way that I can understand how to help these people unless I understand the work to be done." And so many people want to skip that step. And I know you've got some examples of this, Rod, but it was a good point you made about understanding your equipment, like your car.
Well, I think you just made the point, both within and out and with what you're doing. We, as consultants, as coaches, we're expected to have not necessarily solutions to everything, but we should have a practical knowledge of how to solve problems. That's and to help other people solve those problems. And this is probably one of the biggest tips that we can give anybody in any line of work. Understand and get close, get personal with your work from the bottom up, and train your people from the bottom up also. And the other thing this will do for people, Jim, is it's going to weed out those that just want to fast track, that want shortcuts.
Yeah.
It will weed those people out because they're not the ones you want in upper management by the time it's all said and done. There's going to be a problem. The other thing that this does for business people out there is if you understand your business, you're not going to get taken by somebody when someone comes in and they offer you a service or something else, and then you sign up, and the next thing you know, you're out $4,000 because you didn't get what you thought you were going to get because you didn't understand what you were even asking for. And that happens way too often. I hear stories about it. I read stories about it. Well, I thought I was going to get this, and I got this instead. Well, if you don't take those shortcuts, if you understand your business and you're up close and personal with it, that's not going to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get fleeced. And too many people, again, if you don't know how to change a flat tire, what don't you know about your business?
Yeah.
That's just an honest question right there. If you're not able to do the basics, how can we expect you to do the hard things, the complicated things, the sophisticated things? I had, and how you do anything is how you do everything.
That's
So
right.
dive. And I'll give a bad story, not a bad story, a current story. I have paperwork to fill out for my job and my insurance. And I brought it to my doctor's office last Friday. And they said, okay, we'll get that to you. We'll have it ready on Monday. And I went in Monday and it wasn't ready. And so I said, well, call me when it's done. And they did. They called me yesterday, Wednesday, and said, okay, we've got your paperwork done. It had to have the actual doctor sign off on it. And I grabbed the paperwork. I'm at the desk, grabbed the paperwork, turned my back. By the time I got to the doorway, I looked, it hadn't been filled out.
Oh my gosh.
And filled out or signed. So I walk it back over. Oh, I'm so sorry. We'll get it back. Well, the doctor's not here now. We can't fix it now. We'll call you tomorrow. I've not received that call yet today that it's done. These are time-sensitive issues for people. And I told my wife yesterday, I said, I'm glad he wasn't my surgeon.
Yeah.
Because I want my surgeon to pay attention to detail. And he's just the follow-up cardiologist. Right?
Yeah.
So but things matter. These little things matter. That was like fixing a flat tire for me. I needed that so I could get back on the road. And it's not done. It'll be a week tomorrow. It's not done. That's unacceptable. And as business people, you have to be able to quickly navigate trouble spots. do it efficiently, expect it, number one, know how you're going to tackle it, and then efficiently solve that problem for a customer or for your an employee or for yourself. And that requires homework. That requires understanding and knowing how to do it. So, and congratulations on you, Jim, stepping in and getting those things done, building fence, driving forklifts. I know you've done that. There's value in that. There's value in that because you're teaching yourself a new trade, a new skill that you can translate that into something else for another client down the road.
Well, and what's great about it too, by the way, is, sometimes just reminiscent of old. I used to build fences with my dad when I was a kid or young adult. And there's nothing like a hard day's work and the satisfaction of looking over that work. And wow, we just put, 4 fence lines up, which, by the way, opens up 3 more paddocks for us to rent out for horse boarding. So there's all kinds of values that lead from that hard work. Here's another brief example in my day yesterday of how you can look at learning from the bottom up. I've been out with the staff that feeds the horses, right? And basically what they do is they get fed hay 3 times a day. Sometimes they get grain, but they back up their little UTV and throw hay over the fence, specifically in different corners of the paddock, typically always the same. And, the horse is down there and, eating whatever. That's kind of their little area. Now, when you're building a fence, if you understand that this is how the feeding process goes and you understand the animal in general, you'll realize, well, that animal sees the UTV coming around feeding. So that animal's going to go to that corner and he's going to lean in on that fence, waiting, right? Literally lean in on the fence or lean over, in anticipation of the food coming. That area is also going to be, that area will also see a lot of traffic, right? So although when the day was done yesterday, there was a small section we hadn't finished yet. And I said to the gentleman that I was working with, I said, hey, we have to finish this corner today. And he goes, why is that? I said, because they're going to feed tonight. And this horse is going to lean in on the fence right here that we haven't finished. So whether we put off anything else for tomorrow, this one area has to be done. And so it's like, okay, well, that's great. You identified that. Well, that goes much further. What happens if the horse leans in and gets through? Now the horse gets out, right? Now what are we dealing with? Or if the horse gets hurt, now what are we dealing with? Or if the fence breaks and we got to redo it, now you're getting into the cost of doing business on a larger scale. Now you're getting into the conversation that employee's going to have with the employer or the owner. Go, hey, by the way, that horse got out and hurt himself, or by the way, that fence broke. I need more supplies, which means more money. So understanding things from the bottom all the way to the top are so critical to be successful, to save money, to make money, to have smooth operations. Just looking at my little example of the importance of this one little piece of a fence, knowing that that's where the feeding happens. So I would highly recommend that you analyze your business. And if you don't know something about your business at the bottom, time to learn, time to dip in and learn, even if that means going to your employee, and it could be the employee you hired a week ago, and say, by the way, I know I've owned this business for 10 years, but I actually never knew how to. Would you mind spending some time with me and showing me how to do that? You will be a better leader for that. You will set a better example by doing that, and you will build better rapport with your employees by doing that and asking them, and they'll respect you more. Because I guarantee you, your employees know if you can do something and you're the leader. Guarantee it.
And if they know you don't know something that the lowest person on the totem pole knows, they're probably going to tell other people about it too.
Yeah. Yep.
They're not going to stay quiet about it.
Absolutely. Okay. So our left turn took us down the road of, which will be our second point for the podcast today, is understanding your equipment. You drive a vehicle, know how to change the damn tire. You probably know how to put the gas in it or charge it if it's an electric vehicle, but know your equipment all the way to the bottom. And that goes for your business. So good topics today, Rod.
It was. It's always fun, Jim.
Hey,
You would think that we prepared for these things or something, that we do homework and study up, but it's the dummy tax coming through again.
Yeah, literally. Hey, look, I want to close with this couple thoughts. Hey, if you like the show, please share it. We'd love to have more listeners to bring value to more people. So share the show. Thank you for that. One of the things that Robert Greene said to me in that email back and the work that we did at Chapman is he's like, I want to, we paid him. He didn't ask for it, but we paid him and he declined being paid. And what his request was, is that we reach more youth. We reach more youth. And, hey, how great is that? Just that's where Robert's heart is. And thank you for that, Robert, if you're listening. So Rod, our goal, and I'll tell Rachel the same, our goal is to reach more youth. That's what Robert wants us to do. Now, we are called the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, but for us, that's young in mind and spirit, but Robert is specific on age. So we're going to reinvest that money in reaching out to more youth. I think would be the appropriate thing. That's what his request was. So if you know any young adults that want to, see what it's like to be in a coaching, mentoring community, send them our way. They can go to our website right now. All three of us are offering 20 minutes of our time, free coaching, no strings attached. Book a time, any one of the three of us. You can do that right on our homepage of the website, theyoungentrepreneurs.com. And we'll coach you through whatever. Could be anything. So we each have our own expertise, but if we can't answer it, we'll get you the right person that can. And see what it's like to be coached. If you like it, you might want to be a part of our group, Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, and come back on a regular basis. So I think that by spreading that message, we'll reach more people, but hopefully more youth. So if you got a youth in your life, let us know. Rod, I'll come up with a new topic for next week, guaranteed.
But it's endless, isn't it, Jim?
Yes,
it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Thanks for listening in, Young Entrepreneur Syndicate podcast.